going to see something you probably hadn't ever seen on Fox.
Get him in the good 3-car down.
Hey Dale, are you all right, Dale? Hey Dale.
You know, it looked really dramatized and really dramatic looking, you know, and it just looked odd.
Over 150,000 people were at Daytona International Speedway on February 18th, 2001, while 17 million more watched from home, all expecting it to be one of the best Daytona 500s ever. No one could have predicted the consequences this race would have on motorsport. Of course, I mostly make F1 videos and I'm quite new to NASCAR, but from the Polo Run a few weeks ago, I saw so many of you interested, I thought, why not? Let's try something a bit different. To all my core F1 fans, watch the first few minutes. If you're not hooked by then, feel free to leave, but I'm confident you won't. And to my Americans, I'm just getting into NASCAR. Please don't roast me if I get some names wrong. I know how y'all are. The Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, some of the most iconic races in motorsport. But what if I told you there's another race that's just as legendary?
And gentlemen, start your engine!
Of course, I'm talking about the Daytona 500, known as the Great American Race. It's the biggest and most prestigious race in NASCAR, and the one that kicks off every new season. Every year, over 120,000 fans pack into Daytona International Speedway in Florida to watch NASCAR drivers go all out for that prestigious trophy. With an average of 9 million TV viewers in the last decade and being the most watched race in the US from 1995 to 2020, it's no joke. Might not be a huge deal outside the US, and it might just seem like cars going around in circles from the outside, but holy shit, did I learn there's more to it.
I got flat tire.
Hey, there's a crash. Barrel just trying to get by and hits the inside wall of the corner. Mr. Carlin.
Off the board.
NASCAR actually started back in the 1920s during Prohibition. Moonshiners who sold alcohol used and modified small but fast cars to dodge the police and started having informal races, with Daytona Beach being one of the first spots they used.
It was all about going as fast as you can because the guy behind you was going to put you in jail.
See why Daytona is such a big deal now? It's basically the birthplace of NASCAR, and before you ask, the track started out as ovals because they wanted to keep things simple, thrilling, and fast. In a huge country like the US, with so many remote places, it needed to be cheap to run, both for the cars and the tracks. Road races were harder to organize and less accessible for fans. Basically, in Europe, tracks like Avis in Germany or Monza in Italy were doing the same thing. After years of casual races, NASCAR officially kicked off in 1948, making it officially older than F1. From the start, the idea was to use regular cars, tweak them to make them faster, and let fans watch the whole race from pretty much anywhere on the track. It was really about making the competition feel more relatable and accessible to us regular people. Truth is that the races are incredibly fun with plenty of different strategies, and even the tiniest of mistakes can mess up your whole race. Plus, there's always some intense rivalries, and with the drifting, bumping, and tailgating, the battles get intense to say the least. And unlike F1, where it's often just 2 or 3 drivers at most battling for the win,
And Oscar Piastri's going all the way around the outside to take the lead with a bold and brilliant move.
in NASCAR, you can have 7 or 8 drivers fighting for the victory every single race. So anyway, getting back to the main story, with Daytona being the top spot from the beginning, they kicked off a 200-lap race in 1959. Over the years, it's made countless legends and become the race every NASCAR driver dreams of winning. 2001 was a turning point for NASCAR for a multitude of reasons. First off, the 2001 Daytona 500 kicked off a 6-year deal with Fox Sports to cover NASCAR.
2001 was the start of a new era in NASCAR. For new broadcast partner Fox Sports.
Hi, I'm Chris Myers from just above Victory Lane here at the birthplace of NASCAR in Daytona. And NASCAR is born again as Fox Sports begins its coverage of the Winston Cup Series.
This meant that NASCAR's TV rights were locked in with Fox and NBC Sports after years of being all over the place, and races started airing on major TV networks instead of just cable. It might not seem like a big deal now, but back then, this was very exciting. It felt like the sport was going mainstream. This deal made a lot of sense because NASCAR had gotten really popular in the 90s, thanks in part to the epic rivalry between Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt was the seasoned vet in the 90s, winner of multiple championships and a tough mustached southerner. He was called the Intimidator for his aggressive driving style, where he'd push the car beyond its limit, taking any and all risks to overtake. Though it was sometimes controversial to say the least, his skills and control were top-notch. He got his nickname after that famous pass in the grass in 1987.
Coming down off turn 4. And Earnhardt loses it, goes on the grass, comes back, and Elliott goes inside.
Truly insane. I remember Hamilton tried something similar a few years back.
3 we go, and it's Nico Rosberg, and Hamilton's onto the grass, and Hamilton's had a massive crash, and he's crashed into his teammate.
Earnhardt ended up winning 7 championships, tying Richard Petty for the most ever, and was now clearly considered as the best driver of his time. For many people, he's the greatest of all time, with unmatched charisma and skills. On the other hand, Gordon was the slick, young hotshot. He was the stronger driver of the new generation, and made sure NASCAR's future was in good hands, grabbing a total of 4 titles. Both Earnhardt and Gordon took NASCAR to a level it hadn't seen before, and created a rivalry that felt straight out of a movie.
I wanted to be Dale Earnhardt.
He was trying to win, I was too.
And we had top drivers like Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, and Dale Jarrett all racing together. It was like the golden age of racing, where these drivers were basically rock stars. It was also the heyday of the American economy, and NASCAR was the place where big brands threw in their money.
The truck. Yeah, the big brown truck. People love the truck, official delivery company of NASCAR.
The cars were colourful, the tickets were cheap, and the sport basically went from a southern niche thing to a coast-to-coast appeal. So the new decade was all set to take NASCAR to the next level. On top of that, in 2001, they introduced a new aerodynamic package to spice up the racing. Throwback to the 2000 Daytona 500.
42nd annual Daytona 500 is underway.
That race was really boring, with only 9 lead changes. Yeah, basically it would have been one of the most thrilling F1 races of this season. That race was a big reason why they decided it was time for a change. They tested the new aero package in October 2000 at Talladega Superspeedway, and the truth is, it definitely did the trick.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Here comes Tony Stewart at the bottom for the lead. They're 3 wide. Dave Marcus goes up and takes the lead. Marcus in the Real 3 Chevrolet, his best qualifying effort of the year he started.
It was a crazy race, with a breathtaking 49 lead changes among 14 drivers and non-stop action. Everyone was pumped about the new season. At the start of 2001, however, a growing concern in NASCAR was safety, or really the lack of it. Sadly, in 2000, 3 drivers passed away in crashes.
19-year-old Adam Petty died Friday from injuries suffered in a single-car crash at the New Hampshire International Speedway.
You know, it hurts, and I pray hard for his family, and very concerned for them, and my thoughts are with them. And this racing is real small when you get to think about real life things like this.
Adam Petty, Kenny Irwin Jr., and Tony Roper. This was a big issue if NASCAR wanted to keep growing. The hands device, that thing which protects drivers' heads and necks during big impacts, wasn't mandatory yet, and open-faced helmets, like the one Earnhardt wore, was still allowed as well. Earnhardt was especially against safety gear. He didn't like the restrictor plates NASCAR used to slow speed at the fastest tracks and refused to use the hands device.
I had the chance to speak with Dale Earnhardt only 3 weeks ago in Las Vegas during a test about the Hans device, because so many drivers are experimenting with it these days. And Dale Earnhardt's response was, he's not going to use it. He doesn't like it. He's uncomfortable with it. And that's pretty much the stance of most of the veterans here in NASCAR.
As you can see, he was the image of an old school driver. There were also a lot of concerns about how cars were built and how force was absorbed during crashes, especially after those 3 fatalities. But anyway, NASCAR's big day was coming up, and nobody had a clue what was coming. As the 2001 Daytona 500 got closer, fans were buzzing with excitement. It wasn't just because of everything we've talked about so far, but especially because of what was happening on track. On the one hand, the legendary Dodge brand was making a comeback to the Cup Series after 16 years. On top of that, Dale Earnhardt had been back in the mix after years out of the title fight, finishing runner-up in 2000. At 49, there was a real shot at him finally snagging that 8th championship, which would make him the most successful driver in NASCAR history. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon was gunning for his 4th title, with Hendrick Motorsports looking like a strong title contender. And then you had the young Kurt Busch, who'd eventually snagged the title in 2004. And honestly, even a week before the Daytona 500, during the qualifying, yep, they do it a week earlier, things were already heating up. Bill Elliott and Stacey Compton's Dodgers pulled a surprise by taking the top spot.
Well, Ray, congratulations. You felt you were cautiously optimistic about your chances just to make the top 25, but let alone you're on the pole. Congratulations.
After the two 50-lap races that set the starting positions, 330, totally different from F1 I know, Earnhardt Jr. and Sr.'s Chevrolets would kick off from 6th and 7th, while Waltrip was lined up in 19th. And sure, it looked like these three were pretty far back, but with NASCAR's tight racing and all the positions shuffling, anyone still had a shot at the win. The day that would change NASCAR forever was creeping up. February 18th, 2001. On a perfect day. Blue sky, slight breeze. The stands are packed with over 150,000 people, and the atmosphere at the track cannot get better as the drivers are getting ready for the biggest race of the season. But nobody had a clue what was about to go down that day.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Bradshaw waves the green flag, we're racing.
After the green flag, drivers kept swapping places up front and with all sorts of changes throughout the pack. Earnhardt, doing his usual aggressive and effective thing, quickly climbs a few spots to get into the top 3, closely followed by his son, and the battle stays tight among everyone.
Nobody can do anything with Marlin. Ready, started 36, here goes Earnhardt to the inside.
We got the lead change, all right.
Until lap 48.
In the wall, Purvis. I think that's Jeff Purvis who bounced off the wall, coming off turn number 4.
With a caution flag out, the race is neutralized, and everyone takes the chance to pit for fuel and fresh tires until things get back underway. After that, there's a long stretch of green flag racing for 105 long laps. And see this fight between Busch and Earnhardt?
Question that call, but I want you to look where that cat is and how he got.
Whoa! Did you see Earnhardt bounce off Kurt Busch there on turn 4?
This is the kind of tight racing I'm talking about in NASCAR, where they're even bumping into each other all the time. On lap 157, the second caution comes out.
Trouble, front straightaway. Spinning across the racetrack is rookie Kurt Busch.
After the restart, Park takes the lead.
Moves around Steve Park's number 1, and Burton is trying to climb the ladder.
But then his teammate Waltrip swoops in and takes over.
Jeff Gordon right there with him.
Go, Mikey, go, come on, baby. You my man, let's go.
But out of nowhere, red flag. 18 cars taken out at over 180 miles per hour. Debris everywhere.
Gang, it's the big one. It's what we've all been fearing. This kind of racing is going to happen.
A horrible crash on the back straightaway.
The car that flipped and then crossed the track, taking out a bunch of cars behind him, is Tony Stewart's. He is one of NASCAR's big hopes and ended up getting hit the hardest. Stewart is rushed to Halifax Medical Center while they confirm that the other drivers are okay. And after a bit of uncertainty, it turns out Stewart is okay. It was a miracle that after such an enormous crash, everyone is mostly all right.
Well, Robbie, 18-car crash, this is not where you wanted to end up, but I'm happy to see that you are in one piece. Can you take us through it?
Well, I just hope everybody else is okay. You know, I was on the bottom, started to get a little tight. Tony got up underneath the Ward. They seemed to slow down. I don't know if they touched or not. I got in the back of Ward. Then they started side by side. And it's unfortunate. All of us had pretty good cars at that point.
But unfortunately, this was far from the end of it. Once the track is cleared, the race restarts on lap 180. Earnhardt Sr. grabs the lead after the green flag.
And Michael Waltrip is back to the lead, but here comes Earnhardt on the bottom.
I don't think Mikey made it to the line in time.
and then Waltrip jumps to the front. With just 5 laps left, Waltrip's out front. Earnhardt Jr. is right on his tail, and his dad is sitting in third. Normally, you'd expect all three to be scraping for the win, but not this time. Earnhardt Sr., the guy who'd do anything to win, isn't even going for it. Instead, he's protecting his team's 2 cars, trying to keep the pack behind.
15th try.
He thought he was going to win that one, and he just got shuffled out right at the end.
Whoa! Look at Earnhardt. Sterling got into Earnhardt.
And then comes the final lap.
Oh, big trouble. Big wreck behind him.
You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it.
Wow, just wow. After this movie-like finish, Michael Waltrip had just pulled off the impossible at NASCAR's biggest race ever. Earnhardt Jr. crosses the line right behind him, all thanks to the incredible work of his dad.
I just can't believe it. It hasn't sunk in yet. I know I would have never won without Dale Jr., so he has to get half the credit. And I know I never would have won without the belief in Dale Jr., Dale Sr. had for me, and Napa, and all the people on my team. I thought it was kind of boisterous or bragging that we thought we could win this race.
However, his win would get quickly overshadowed.
And where rescue workers are helping Dale Earnhardt to get out of his car.
I just hope Dale's okay. I guess he's all right, isn't he?
Suddenly, everyone's attention turned to the cars that had crashed on the last lap.
Get him in the 3 cars out. Oh,
big trouble. Big wreck behind him.
Dale Earnhardt lost control of his car and veered into Ken Schrader, who hit him before they both smashed into the wall at over 150 miles per hour and ended up in the grass. It was a pretty hard crash, but it didn't seem too bad at first. Way smaller compared to the one from a few laps earlier. Schrader, completely unhurt, quickly got out of his car and headed over to Earnhardt. Soon, the medical crews and an ambulance arrived, got Earnhardt out of his car and rushed him to the Halifax Medical Center, just like Stewart earlier. No one really knew what was going on, and suddenly, uncertainty took over the track. Joy gave way to silence. The only one who had seen Earnhardt up close was Schrader.
Kenny, let me ask you, I know you've been thrown this question several times and you're just getting out of the care center, but you made your way over to Dale's situation. What's going on there?
I don't really know. I'm not a doctor. I mean, I got the heck out of the way as soon as they got there.
And how about yourself? How are you?
Fine. I'm fine. Just thinking about Dale and him guys.
Just by the look of his face, you could tell something was off. But it couldn't be anything too serious, right? I mean, with all the crazy crashes in NASCAR, this one seemed pretty small.
I remember when I seen the wreck happen, I just jumped in off the toolbox, yanked my headset off because I knew we had a good shot at winning, and put my headset back on and hollered at,
"Hey Dale, are you all right, Dale? Hey Dale."
He never did answer me. So I turned over to Mike Skinner's channel and I said, "Mike," I said, "stop there and make sure Dale's okay. Make sure it just didn't undo his helmet and got out. Let me know if he's out of the car or whatever." Skinner come on there and he said, "You better go to the infield care center." He said, "Boy, he doesn't look good."
There was a strange atmosphere on track, happiness mixed with uncertainty, which slowly turned into more and more worry as time went on.
And it's as excited as I am for Michael and as proud as I am of him, I'm praying for Dale. He's back down there and they're still working down there, so we need to worry about him.
For the next hour, no one knew what to do. Then, after 6:30 p.m., NASCAR President Mike Helton showed up in the press room.
This is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident in Turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
NASCAR has lost its greatest driver ever. And I personally have lost a great friend.
This was just unbelievable. It couldn't be happening. The world wasn't ready to say goodbye to Dale Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt has been pronounced dead at Halifax Hospital.
8 broken ribs, a broken left ankle and fractured sternum, and his fatal injury, a basilar skull ring fracture. The same kind of injury suffered by 3 drivers that passed away in 2000. That outpouring grief from his legion of fans didn't take long.
I'd like to ask you to do something. I'd like to ask you to take the hand by the person beside you
spreading across the country as they mourned the loss of one of, if not the greatest NASCAR driver ever. 7 titles, 76 wins, and a driving style like no other. But Dale wasn't just what you saw on the track. He was a charismatic guy, a family man, a team player, and down to earth. Someone everyone could relate to. Everyone in the paddock loved him. He was a true icon in every sense. And while the loss of 3 drivers in 2000 shocked everyone, they somehow didn't lead to any major safety improvements. But when Earnhardt passed, it at least sparked a total shift in how NASCAR approached safety, making it their #1 priority. The organization launched a bunch of projects and started adopting head and neck restraints like the Hans device. Starting in 2002, they also began rolling out steel and foam energy reduction barriers at most tracks, which helped absorb a great amount of impact and have saved multiple lives since. Also, years later, in 2007, seatbelt harnesses became 6-point, and they started developing the car of tomorrow, which was a much safer and stronger spec car. Since 2001, NASCAR has introduced 3 new cars, each incorporating the latest technology and leading-edge safety features. Earnhardt's loss was the turning point that made this all happen. When it comes to racing, Earnhardt left a gap that's still felt today. Lots of fans lost their favorite driver. Sure, some stuck with NASCAR and cheered for Dale Jr. or other drivers, but many simply couldn't come back to the sport. Meanwhile, Earnhardt Jr. tried to keep his dad's legacy alive and became a true star. He didn't snag a NASCAR Cup, but he did rack up 26 wins, 2 Daytona 500s.
Earnhardt Jr. wins the 46th Daytona 500. Third-generation star Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings him to the flag, checkered flag waving, it's over, it's Earnhardt!
And 2 Busch Series championships. Earnhardt's loss left an undeniable mark on NASCAR. You can't understand the history of the sport without his impact and legacy. Few athletes leave such an impactful footprint in their field like Dale did. Only those who go beyond the purely athletic. Rest in peace to one of the true legends of motorsport.
We've lost a great friend, and it all seems so unfair. People ask us, how can we go out and race today? We can do that, first of all, because we know that's what Dale would want us to do. And second of all, because, Lord, we know without a doubt that He is dwelling in your house and will forevermore. Amen.
If I missed anything, or if you just have feedback on me, on this video, on what you want to see next on Daily Fuel Up, let me know. This is our channel. Without you guys, I couldn't be making these videos every week. I want to make 100% sure that I make the best content possible, and most importantly, the exact videos you want to see. So let me know. I will be reading every single comment, and if you want to watch another video, I'm confident you don't want to miss this one. And as always, thank you for watching.